Welcome to After Wine School, the podcast where wine gets personal. In this episode, host Keith Wallace sits down with Anna Binkovitz, the newly named Sommelier Student of the Year at the Wine School of Philadelphia. From her early days as a nationally ranked slam poet to her current role managing one of Rittenhouse's top restaurants, Anna brings wit, grit, and a poet's touch to hospitality. This conversation dives into her unlikely journey, her thoughts on sparkling wine, and why Philly just might be the perfect city for wine nerds and goblins alike.
This is After Wine School, the podcast. And I'm Keith Wallace. Alana, guess what, is not here today, which is a real problem because I do not have, as you all know, she's the smart one. And she's also the one who points out that our benefactor, the Grand Poobah, is the National Wine School, by far the best sommelier programs in the freaking world. But what's really interesting today is that I'm here with Anna Binkovitz. She's a advanced sommelier student here at the Wine School of Philadelphia. But more importantly than that, she is the Sommelier Student of the Year. That's how good she is. She's one of our favorite students. And I just want to say, Anna, thank you for coming down today.
Oh.
And we don't take this lightly at the school. We have serious arguments over who it's going to be. And it usually starts with at least 10 people on that list. And they're all people who are in the trade, who are just impressive in some way. But at the end of the day, the deciding factor always is this person awesome, and is this person at the beginning of their career, and can we see this person just doing something awesome in the next couple decades in the food or wine industry? There's people, when they're in class, they make it better, and there's some people who make it worse, right? Some people who just can, all of a sudden everyone around them folds in better, and like you can see when they're there, things just are a little bit more magic in the classroom. And you're one of those people that just that little bit of sprinkling of salt on that dish that makes everything pop. It's really, that's how I see you in classrooms. And I'm trying to embarrass you a little bit, but that's why we're here. That's why I want to talk to you, because I'm really curious about you, by the way. When I started looking you up, I thought I had the wrong person. I knew I had the wrong person because here is this freaking poet from Minnesota, of all places, who's published everywhere. The editor of this magazine and that magazine. I go, wow, what happened? How did you end up in Philly, of all places?
Yes, life story. Long ago on a wooded hilltop. No, I'm from Minnesota. I was in college there and getting into writing and getting into wine, actually pretty similar paths, where I was in a very sad place and needed something to get out of it and stumbled into the nearest thing I could find. With poetry, I was in college and I went to a college poetry slam, and just so happened that McAllister, where I did my undergrad, they had the best slam team in the country that year at the college nationals. And so the next year I was on that team and we placed second, and it was really the thing that got me through, and it was great. And I have had good luck of stumbling into some of the best places to be, and that happened again with wine. I finished my graduate degree in 2020 and promptly everything went to hell. I was a finalist for some poetry fellowships that then disappeared. The job listings disappeared. My apartment got sold. I was living in my parents' basement for 2 years. Yes, it was.
Okay.
My parents are lovely. They did the best job to make Rochester, Minnesota exciting, but it just wasn't. I got the only exciting thing that was in that town, my husband, and then left. My friends, we all ended up moving different places. So coming to Philadelphia for my husband's graduate degree, I needed something to get out of the house. I was working from home. I didn't know anybody here. And so I was like, I like wine. I've worked in some restaurants before and stumbled into Keith's wonderful little shop of horrors. And here I am.
I guess we have to change the brand. I like that better. Keith's Little Shop of Horrors. Oh, yeah, no, that would be nice. I can picture the logo too.
Wine glass and it's dripping, and you can't tell if it's red wine or blood.
That's even better than what I thought. All right, this is fantastic. I'm stealing all this. This is all my IP now.
Great.
Okay. Wow. Okay. Most people don't become a celebrated poet due to teenage angst and troubles and problems. That's not what you usually.
You'd be surprised. I know.
Yeah. Usually people just huff. So just, no, kudos. And that's interesting also that everything around you collapsed because of COVID. And that, because there's always that story now. We all have that story of this. And so I want to make that connection between you and I, Philadelphia. And they had a massive shutdown. It was scary shutdown. Like we knew we couldn't do anything. We couldn't even. So yeah, we had to reinvent ourselves. That's where we really tied in fully with the National Wine School and started developing their online programming. And yeah, and where we're sitting right now, that became our studio. And so many people like around the country now know my face and they know the chalkboard that I stand in front of while teaching. And people have actually come here now from Chicago and Florida and California just because they were curious what the school looks like because they've only seen the chalkboard.
Right.
Exactly. And I am much prettier. I have a full head of hair. I look like I'm 55 on TV, but I'm really 22 and buff. Yeah, it's amazing. I look like a completely different person.
I'm not going to take that from
Yeah, I know. I appreciate it. And I was just turning blue from trying not to laugh or say anything truly cruel. And I appreciate that. I like my delusions because I found wine. So we have that interesting connection where your life, and I gotta say personally, I'm glad you came here. And I'm glad, I guess I'm gonna ask because I'm curious. How did you find us of all places? You were known. And it's interesting because a lot of people who find us who are from someplace else and they find us and they like it here. How did that end up happening? Like, how did you find us? Because we don't even advertise and really we don't do anything.
I just remember looking at sommelier certification programs in Philadelphia because I really wanted to go in person.
Yeah.
I think WSET has one and you guys have one.
Yep.
The delightful kind of abruptness in the tone, because I think that's how, like, friendly and welcoming, but also fuck you. Embodies so much of what I love about the East Coast. It's like very actually warm, but very abrupt. And I love that.
Yeah.
And that's me too, I think so.
That's great.
I know I'm not nice enough for the Midwest.
Did they just basically kick you out because did your parents say like, you know, you're not nice enough? Yeah.
Just so polite. I don't know how they're there, but
Are they?
no, I guess I do see it. Like they're very snappy and love to tease, but they also are 60-year-old happy babies.
Oh,
They're very joyful, and I think maybe that carries them through.
oh, that's really lovely. See, yeah, I do find when I can be much meaner when I'm happy. It is funny that way. I guess that maybe that's an East Coast thing. Yeah, I had a hard time when I was a winemaker in California. People always thought I was so mean.
California is just a whole other kind of man.
Yeah.
There's no need. It's very much what I need.
Yeah. Oh, that is amazing. So your husband comes here. He's at one of the big fancy colleges, one of the Ivy colleges here, and you find us. You take the core foundation program. You earn your sommelier pin, and then you jump into our advanced sommelier program, and that's really like when I. It takes me a couple, 2, 3 semesters to start noticing people because I'm really terrible. I see so many people, but then certain people start showing in my classroom. Oh, wow, interesting. Why? And then the question is like, why the fuck are they here? They're really interesting. I want to talk to them. I wanna know why. And finding your path. So I did actually write out a few questions just because I'm curious because that poet thing in you, that wine thing, because like started taking over. First off, you really had some like serving experience before you moved to Philly, and that's about it.
Yeah, I've been like a brunch bartender. I've been a server at my first full-time restaurant job. I was a failed hospitality manager
Oh,
at a French place for a couple months, and then I was a whiskey educator at a distillery.
because that was one of our first conversations was about oak.
Yeah,
That was
they're so cool, man.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I know, because Alana came up, she says, "There's somebody here who really likes barrels as much as you do." And which is a weird thing to say. It does sound like we're both on the spectrum a little bit, but that right there, I was like, "Oh," and I was like, "Oh, I don't care." Like, then I was like, "So what do you think?" Yeah, it is. Because barrels, I think about barrels far too much. As a winemaker and you working in the distillery, of course. That was one of the first things. But also, so you worked there, but you worked your way up. Now, where you're working now.
Definitely will.
Okay. So tell me what restaurant you're at now.
So right now I'm a service manager at A Kitchen and A Bar over in Rittenhouse.
They're part of a hotel group.
They're like The hotel owns the space, and then High Street Hospitality manages the restaurant for them. So they have that one, and then they just opened one down in DC too.
Yes. Who manages it? High Street.
High Street Hospitality.
Street Hospitality. So now these are two very big names, and people in the industry know these two names. This is not like a small little mom and pop operation. So what I'm pointing at is you came from having almost no experience to being an incredibly important person at some of the most respected hospitality company on the East Coast, like legit great people. So that's not nothing.
I'm sure some kid somewhere.
Yeah, thank you. Not the brightest kid, but hey, kid.
Yeah. I think also I can't not talk about the restaurant that I stumbled into first here
Yeah.
in Philadelphia, because that's really, I don't think A Kitchen rightfully would have given me second thought. But actually, the people who really took a risk on me were the folks at Laurel over on East Passion.
Because people listen to this who aren't actually in Philadelphia.
So if anybody would know, they would, if they were Top Chef fans about 12 years ago,
Big.
Nick Elmy won and then opened his restaurant Laurel.
Yes.
It's his kind of passion project, and he handed off the chef de cuisine there now is Kevin McWilliams. I met with him and Jane, and I hung out with Kevin at the pass, and I mostly just was quiet and out of the way, which I guess he liked. So they hired me.
Oh, that's fantastic. That is such an amazing thing. And Nick Elmy is one of the most famous. And I gotta say, when he first opened, I made sure I was there for the first 2 months and came multiple times because that's when I love restaurants when they're brand new. And in that where they're still experimenting and figuring things out. And his hand is so delicate. It was all nuanced, no big flavors at that time. He was just playing in a very quiet meter. That was very rare. I was very impressed. I was very happy to have his food.
Yeah.
And Laurel is just absolutely that's always consistently. So people who aren't from Philly, they know that this is not nothing. This is a pretty impressive jump from
Yeah.
the beginning. My impression of you is that you're not that kind of person who is burying people to get places. You're not the person, and because everyone I know, I know some of the same people. Obviously, we're in the same trade, and your reputation is just that you're just a good person. Not a single person says, "Oh, that's a backstabber," just to climb up the corporate ladder. That's not you.
I'm not good at climbing weak arms. I think also Philly was a perfect place for me to not have to be that. Like in Philly, I think there are so many good people who genuinely just want to open the door for other folks, who want to let you be yourself and succeed. And I know that's not the case in every city, and maybe not in every restaurant in Philly, but I think, again, I've been very lucky that I've worked under and with just good people.
Philly is an interesting place. It does like the. I always say that the school couldn't have existed anywhere else. Like we couldn't have gotten our start anywhere else because Philly does. It's interesting when you're new and they love you, you get embraced. And it's not the nicest place in the world anyone's ever been here. No, we're not very nice. But there's an openness here that and an ability to succeed that doesn't really exist. Like you can't do this. I knew I couldn't open the school in the aughts in New York, thought about it, but like just the costs there's no way, or my hometown of Boston. I know I can't do what I want to do.
Trying to imagine you in Back Bay.
Me and Back Bay, I know exactly.
Teach the back.
I know. So that's the thing is because it's also, yeah, because the people here are very interesting too. They're really passionate about food and wine but they're also, oh, we're not as jaded. New York, when I'm in New York, there's so much to do. Here, it's a smaller place. It's a city you can walk from one side to the other in 4 hours at most, if you're a baby.
No, if you're taking a snack break.
All right. So I have a few questions to ask because of a curiosity. And because I wrote them down, and since I wrote them down, I should probably ask them. Now, all right. This was an accomplished poet, and you're an accomplished. Would you consider yourself a somm now or a manager, restaurant manager?
I'm definitely like my role, I'm the manager.
Yeah.
So a lot of times if they ask, "Oh, are you the Somm?" I say, "I'm not the Somm. I'm a Somm,
Yes.
but I'm not the Somm
That's
anywhere."
good. All right, good. I just wanted so that when I ask the question, you've gone from slam poetry stages to the restaurant floor.
Yeah.
Who's more dramatic, poets or chefs? Because we do know chefs.
Oh, hands down, it's chefs, because Poets, they internalize, and under all the pressure of all those feelings, then a month later comes out the poem. Chefs, they're feeling it, they're saying it, and then also, depending on who the chef is, then they are, in a very poetic way, then later trying to explain why they were so dramatic. So they'll, like, have a thing that they're upset about, probably justified, but they're like, have their little drama queen moment. And then for the next 3 hours after service, they're like, okay, but I'm so sorry. Especially here, they're so nice. But then they're like, okay, but this is why. You understand, right? And 6 months later, you'll find a poem published about you that you hurt their feelings.
All right. So I guess being in a relationship with a chef or a poet, which would you choose?
I married a scientist.
Yeah, he's so smart.
I would say it depends. If your sleep schedule is important to you, poet. If you want somebody who will talk to you about what's bothering them, whether or not it's graceful, chef.
Yeah. All right. That's good. I was curious about that. Yeah, that would be brutal. Like, just, yeah, having a poem written about you. I do not want that ever to happen to me.
I found a poem once
Oh, no.
that someone had published. It turned out that they were in love with my ex. And they're like trash talking me in the poem. And I found it as the curriculum for a workshop I was in years later.
No. That is horrible. That is absolutely fucking horrible. Oh my God. Yeah, no, because because I had, before I was a winemaker, before I was the school, I was a chef, and I was like, all chefs are angry. Like, we just are angry people because it's an angry job. It's a lot of stress. It's
Hot, you're on your feet. Yeah.
yep, burnt. It's knives. It's fire. It's anxiety. It's creativity. It's hell. It is hell. I loved it. Oh my God. But yeah, no, and it's the kind of job that you have to be a little psychologically damaged to do. It's that kind of job that works really well if you're a damaged little boy and need a daddy figure. That's the thing. Yeah. Not talking about myself at all.
No.
Oh God, no. No, yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, so I guess, yeah, chefs all the way. All right. I'm okay. I guess I'm not gonna be dating any poets. Just chefs.
True.
She's gonna be very happy about that. No, she'll like the fact that I'm dating chef because that means that she'll get fed well. The hard thing in my life is that there's just a guaranteed expectation that I'm gonna make at least 3 really delicious dinners every week.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know how she started expecting that. She did. Just stuck with pizza bagels.
Yeah, you should have tricked her into thinking you couldn't do it and then pull it out on the special occasions. But see, now you're too deep in and this is your life.
Yeah, I should have just done microwave mac and cheese and then eventually throw in some truffle. There you go. Thank you. All the rest of the questions are gonna be about my own personal relationships so that you can guide me. You're gonna be my rabbi. Okay? All right.
Mom is a rabbi.
Are you serious?
She's a rabbi, an immigration lawyer, a certified personal trainer. She sold real estate for a while.
Oh my God, so you come from a family of people who change and do interesting things. That's fantastic. So, if I want if so philosophy, kickboxing, and selling me a house all at the same time?
Training for.
Okay, thank you. All right.
I don't know if her real estate license isn't active, but she also still does look at contracts. So if you put in an offer and you want somebody to look at the contract,
All right.
she's your girl.
This is really fantastic. So what is it like growing up with a rabbi as your mom?
She wasn't a rabbi yet when she's mom. It takes a while to accumulate all these different careers.
Yeah.
But she had been a religious studies major in college.
Oh.
So it was always like there.
Okay.
My dad used to complain because he was the one that was like born Jewish and raised Jewish. She converted. And he would always complain because he ended up with everyone in the family being so much more Jewish than him. And he had hoped to just like move away. He was raised like conservative, a lot
Yeah.
stuffy and rules. And then, but no, so he just complains about the Seder that my mom leaves.
That's fantastic. All right. So we have this in common. Yeah, my father's a minister. Yeah, Baptist though. But however, he was a theologian who studied ancient Hebrew texts. So he was like in ancient Greek. That's what he did. So he just formulated our household as if we were Jewish. And which was fascinating and interesting, and trying to explain that I was in fact actually not Jewish, but actually Baptist was interesting. And the fact that my wife, who is Jewish, I know way more about the religion than she did, which was also pretty fucking awkward.
Yeah.
I think our families would absolutely either love or hate each other. Probably hate each other.
I don't know.
I don't know. We'll find out. Let's
Yeah,
find out.
well,
Yeah,
sure.
together, we'll do a cage match, either the hug it out or fight it out.
My mom, personal trainer.
Oh, I know. And my mom has congestive heart failure. Oh, yeah. And makes me sad.
Same story for the funeral.
How much does, because you can't get away from your background. Like, you are always the person you are, and you just fold that into the next thing you become. Like, at least that's how I see life. You keep all those things and you just build upon that. So, being having the core of a poet, like, how does that fit in at all? And do you use that as a resource in hospitality and food and wine, or how does that work? How is it being the only poet sommelier that I have ever?
I think there's a few different things that I've transferred over, I guess, that I've
Yeah.
had. Because with tasting notes and finding the words for things for like sensory experiences, I think that helps there because I'm used to that kind of almost synesthesia of bringing all these different senses out and putting words to them.
Yes, I love
So
that.
I think that definitely is there. And then, especially front of house, you're always on a stage
Yeah.
during service. So I'm pretty good at like, turning it on for the guests,
Yeah.
like the charming thing. And then I always joke with my servers on like a busy night, there's goblin hour, which is where I turn it on when I'm out on the floor, but I'm so overstimulated and overwhelmed that back in the server station, I'm just a little goblin.
Yes.
So that's that. I think
That's awesome. Are you trying to impress or try to draw them towards you? Like, how do you use language? Because I think this is the most interesting thing.
I think it's definitely about drawing them towards you, especially when you're trying to get somebody to order a bottle, to try a new glass, to try something new. My hope is really the job of being impressive. That's Frank's job, our beverage director, of choosing the great wines, of presenting them on the menu in an interesting way. Our job is to connect people to that. So I think it's definitely about, because I can't just say, oh, yes, it's got this structured elegance and blah, blah, blah. Not everybody's going to resonate with that. So I think
Right.
then to be able to bring in more like it's got this great savory quality. It's going to go great with your food that you're ordering and just make it more close to them, more intimate for them.
That's awesome because that is something that oftentimes is lacking, is actually that you get a certain level of education, a certain level of knowledge. You know what it is, but transmitting that is the hard thing. That's why I find that, and that's also why, yeah, your ability, from everything I've heard, because Philly is a small place, is that you do have that like innate connection with people that people just immediately respond to you. And I find that delightful. And you would actually like, so yeah, no, like you're one of those people. I'm like, oh, she's sarcastic, smart, a little bit of self-hatred there. And he's got this great wants to connect with people. Like, she'd be a great wine instructor. So yeah, I always thought, I was like, oh yeah, no, you would be fantastic. So you could take my job. And why I am giving you this award that I agreed to this, but I don't know why. I'm retracting it. I'm gonna be your employee soon.
I was a substitute teacher in the Minneapolis public schools for a couple of years.
Oh my God.
Teacher.
Oh God. Oh.
Did the fundraising.
What'd you fundraise for?
I did telefundraising for a few months.
Oh wow. Was that really fun?
I got some really funny phone calls, people's responses to me asking them for money.
Oh yeah? Tell me. What?
I just one where he was like, I'll tell you what, if they do these traveling concerts, if you can get them to come to my backyard and do a concert, then I'll donate. I'll see what I can do for you.
If you get on that right away.
Like, I can definitely get them closer to your backyard if you give me money.
All right. What's the weirdest thing anyone said to you in a restaurant?
So, in Rittenhouse,
Okay.
a lot of characters.
Yes.
So, I would say there's one guy who came in already holding full glasses of sparkling wine.
Okay.
And we had to explain to him that he couldn't bring that in to the restaurant side. So then he went over to the bar side and tried to come in.
Yeah.
My bartender told me he had to go. He came back in. So then I went up to him and I was like, hi, you're not going to get anything you want here. It's time for you to go. And he was like, Imperial, and then wandered out. Then he came back 2 more times.
Oh God.
To like first say he wanted to take the glasses back to the other restaurant, but then he just left them there. And then he came back in again, and my bartender, Liv, just went up and was like, hey, buddy, you had this conversation already. And he was like, you don't want my money? And she's like, he was funny. Because apparently he had also come in another time when one of the other managers was on duty, and we had closed, and just walked in and said, champagne? We were like, I think my most interesting one is I had a guy who was on our patio during the heat wave during the summer.
Yes.
And so I was like, all right, I need you to leave the patio, but I'll get you some water because it's super hot. And then he came in after and he's, "No, you don't need to bring it to me. I'm treating you like my maid. You're not my maid. You're my wife." And I was like, "No, I am neither of those things." And then he stubbed his toe and he went, "Oh, my delicate bone,
Delicate bone.
delicate bone."
Oh, that is just, yeah.
So now anytime
If you work in the restaurant industry long enough, you have very good stories, but sometimes you get really jaded, and you don't seem that jaded. You may become a goblin once in a while, but you don't seem like you don't have that smoking a cigarette, like, "I've seen some shit" vibe.
I think mostly it's just fun stories. Also, so much worse has happened.
Yeah.
This is fine. And I think also the nice thing about being at a place and like at Laurel before where there's a lot of just regulars and people who really build a relationship with the restaurant. That's the anecdote, I think, or the antidote, I should say, to those people that are jerks or are super weird. You have these people who make your restaurant a part of their life. So that balances it.
Doesn't it though? It does, yeah. Because even at school, like, running a wine school, like, we come across I had one student who thought that I was being particularly it was in the core Sommelier program, and she thought I was just being mean to her, and she obviously didn't realize that I'm just generally mean to everybody. It's in a way that it's actually like, I really care, and most people figure out that I'm joking. My first class, I just was teaching it yesterday, actually, the first class of the new semester, and at first everyone thought I was mean, and then everyone just started realizing I wasn't, and they started laughing, and they realized that but this woman did not know, so I actually had to let her, after class, yell at me for 45 minutes because I knew it was the only way I was going to get this class to be okay because she was so angry. I need to let it
Right.
out. I basically had to let out that pressure so she didn't explode in the middle of class because it was like week 5 and she didn't understand what was going on. And that I was actually concerned because she wasn't getting the information. And it was someone who had yeah, who should, but wasn't getting it. There are those things, it didn't matter because, like, I knew that 45 minutes of someone just screaming at me was nothing because the people who are in my classes are so fucking amazing. And it just made me want, oh God, all right. And she was screaming at me. I was like, this is really bad. Doesn't bother me at all because the people in the school's classroom are amazing. I know that I'm going to be lifted up by the 95% of insanely awesome people, which is nice. And that's the thing is, yeah, having those people in your, like, even though it's a professional relationship, it's still so valuable. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's another overlap, I think, with the poetry professional and community and restaurants where you have these relationships that are professional and like surface level,
Yes.
but at once also very deep. Because in poetry, you're like getting up and sharing your deep, dark secrets with each other and editing each other's poems on it.
Yeah.
And in hospitality, it's like normal and everything. But then also you spend all your holidays together. You go through these insane shifts where it's been like 12 hours of just nonstop and you're all just loopy and trying to survive it. So you have this trauma bond, I guess. It's like this deep connection.
Action. I know. It is. I'll never not want my time in in restaurant industry will always be my favorite.
Yeah.
It always will be. And when people ask me what my favorite job is, and they always assume it's when I was a journalist or when I was a winemaker. I'm like, no, it was when I was 14 years old and I was a dishwasher at a very fancy gay bar. It was the best thing ever, honestly, because being basically adopted by a gang of queens when you're that young, you're like the little straight boy, and they all like he's father's a minister, a family of ministers, not the kindest, most gentle human beings, and let's just say not the most affectionate of people. I was like, yeah, no, I learned when I had questions about sex when I was 14, that's who I went to. And the people who, and then eventually, yeah, the people who showed me how to actually do work and what actually good food was. Like, I had never had garlic. I never tasted garlic before.
Thing I meant.
Oh my God. When I realized you could actually put more salt on your food, yeah, yeah, no, it was amazing. And I had never, oh yeah, no, that was fantastic. It was the first time I ever tried wine and beer and whiskey. Yeah, it was fantastic. Oh my God, it was so much. Yeah, and then the first time I beat everyone up was another one of my dishwashers, and it was fun. He was really mean. He was mean to like my friends, and so then I beat him up, and that was fantastic.
Fantastic.
Keith was happy. Keith,
Yeah.
yeah, booze, fights, being the belle of the ball. Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, it's fantastic. It was lovely. But I know it is something, and those of us, I really feel bad for people who haven't worked in restaurants and haven't had that because it really is, you do, we all interact with restaurants.
Yeah.
We all have that experience, whether you're sitting, eating, but if you don't know what that's like on the other side, there's a lack of empathy that you have, and you also just don't understand how amazing that is and how hard it is. Because the whole idea of having a servant, like you mentioned, your funny story, like you're not my servant, you're my wife, is a weird, but I picture everyone thinking that. Yeah, just say, "Oh, you cook for us, you serve us, you are servants." And that's a weird thing in America because most of us have never had servants. I'm sure some people do, but I don't. I'm sure I know that it exists somewhere. But yeah, I just find that I always have a connection, and one of the things I always like to share is whenever like another chef, I always our scars.
Oh yeah.
Because see, servers, you have emotional scars. We chefs have actual scars on our faces, hands, like they never. And
Right.
I haven't been for decades. For decades.
Well, I think my favorite thing about moving from serving to management is that since I am no longer in any tip pools, my servers have to take it when people treat them that way.
Oh God.
That's my favorite thing, to be able to come in and defend them when it's okay, that's enough. I'm just gonna deal with them and I'm gonna be perfectly fine. That's not any more than that.
Oh, that's fantastic. Yeah. I wonder if that's one of the reasons why you actually were attracted to the wine school because one of the lines I have is we're not servants. And like any of my instructors, I was like, you never wear a white shirt. You never wear a white shirt and a jacket. Ever. You cannot come across as a waiter. There needs to be more respect for people. And I'm very sensitive to that because I was a waiter. I was a chef mostly, but when I actually needed to make money, I started waiting tables. And I was pretty good at it, even though I was a hot mess. Good, but I made a lot more money than when I was a chef. That whole thing is very tricky because people don't know how to behave. Are you their wife or are you the wife or the maid? That's a weird combination, but it's always a little sticky for a lot of people. It's a little sticky, a little icky. But yeah, I do love it when people try to like try to talk down to me or one of my or instructor because
Yeah,
they don't go very far.
exactly. My favorite phrase. I don't have to pull it out very often, but when I do, it's
Yeah. Oh, because you're protecting your staff, your people.
yeah.
And that's the most important thing. You protect your people. Yeah, and I think that's the other thing that's really you find in a really good restaurant, that you're protected. The manager is the person who has your back. No, it always that's one of the reasons why kitchens are great because usually we're based on the good old military training. And
I
you do what you're told.
the military you've ever seen.
Oh yes, the most dysfunctional would never win any war, but yes, but you're
Damn good food.
That's fantastic. All right. So I was going to ask you about your artistic background, inform your leadership style. That's very clear that you are just a badass and you protect your people, but you're very kind to people like those in front of you. Or are we all collectively trauma bonded?
Bit of both. It's definitely trauma bonding, but I think it's not a coincidence that so many of the people that I've worked with in restaurants are artists, are neurodivergent, or both.
Yeah.
We're all just a little in our way. The kind of instability, the stable instability of working in a restaurant,
Yeah.
it works with a certain kind of mind.
Yeah. It does. Yeah, it really does. And it also instills a lifelong, a little bit of love of anarchy, a little bit. Just like
Yeah.
just a little bit of that. It's nice. It's fun to be like that combination, like not being and I gotta tell you, I working in restaurants told me that's the only kind of employment I could ever have. Because when I started getting like, an actual job, like working at NPRs because
Yeah.
even that, even though I had a lot of freedom, it was still top down and I needed something different.
Yeah. I think there's a beautiful skill that working in like especially a busy restaurant, so like on a Friday night or whatever, seeing things are going wrong. Your plan is not gonna carry. And being able to be like, "All right, we're just gonna ride this." Because there was one night during restaurant week last fall, we had no host. The other manager had left with very little notice. They had 110 on, only 2 servers. And so I just walk up to my expo and I'm like, "You ready to get our shit rocked?"
Okay, 110 people,
Yeah.
2 servers.
2 servers, a bartender, and me.
Oh, wow. That is brutal. I'm having anxiety just thinking about this. I can actually feel it in my bones.
Fine. You just keep moving.
Yep.
Just keep
Keep
moving.
moving. Yeah. All right. Now, I think you're basically in this industry for life, it seems. Like, this seems to be where you're heading into.
Yeah.
And so what's the pie in the sky? Like, where do you want to take this? Where would you like to be?
Yeah, I think pie in the sky, the dream would be a bottle shop by day, a wine bar with a bubbles focus by night that's meant to make sparkling wine more approachable to people with nice little small plates that keeps industry friendly hours.
Uh,
So like 8 p.m. to 1 a.m. instead. And come by after work, have a nice glass of wine, have some nice food at an affordable price point, have the bottle shop, and just, yeah, I think especially sparkling wine, people get really intimidated by it. But there's so much and such a variety, and it's so cool. There's so many different things you can do. And so I think that's the dream.
that's fantastic. So start a little, and are you going to dip your toes into winemaking at all?
I'm interested in that. When I was working in the distillery, I did a little bit of, we would help with the blind tasting for the blending to maintain the consistency. So I've definitely thought about that. I'm definitely interested. I think my heart more so lies in getting to talk about it
Yeah.
than in the creation of it. But I definitely think that it's an important thing to be intimately familiar with if you're going to talk about the final product, to know and see it happen.
That's fantastic. So you want to be out in front. I swear to God, you'd be so good at it. You'd be so much better.
I would love to teach people. I think like
Yeah.
education would be great at this little bottle shop wine bar.
Yeah.
Classes there.
Yeah.
That'd be great.
That'd be fantastic. Yeah. I think you'd be absolutely phenomenal at that. Yeah. No, you're just the right amount of dark and funny and smart, and charismatic, and a little scary sometimes. I've seen that face when the turn. It's just like, I'm like, oh shit, she's angry.
Deep pools of rage hidden behind the baby face.
No. I know. I see everyone. I know, which is always true. The baby face always hides the rage. My problem is that I have resting wasp face. I always look like I'm angry.
Yeah.
I'm never like. It's like I'm very happy. Yeah, my wife. After 20 years, she has finally figured it out.
Good.
Oh, that is fantastic, and it was so great talking today. And this was, and we're gonna end this podcast. There's going to be, I know there'll be stories out about you. Yeah. So you don't know this, but yeah, there will be announcements in all like the major publications as well. Yes, absolutely. Oh yeah. No. And yeah. And we'll schedule like a picture so so people will know what you look like.
So I can see the rage.
We'll get it there. We'll have AI as the, thank you. That's better than what I was thinking.
We're on the same page.
All right. Thank you for coming down, and thank you for just jumping out of your house and into an Uber, because I totally screwed up the scheduling of this, and I really appreciate that.
No, I was super fun, really excited. I love the wine school. A little funny group of weirdos you got here.
Right? Oh my God. Oh God. I know. I want you here forever, even though I know you're not going to be here forever. I do want you, and not in a weird, creepy way either, but.
Thanks for listening to After Wine School. If you like this episode, share it with your favorite restaurant lifer, poet, or goblin in disguise. And don't forget to rate and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. Thank you, and have a great day, you beautiful, beautiful goblin.